It began with a single click. One message. One chat. One stranger who knew exactly what to say. By the time anyone realized what had happened, 13-year-old Alicia Kozakiewicz was already gone. For 4 days, her face filled missing posters across Pittsburgh. Detectives searched every street, every creek, every shadow. But Alicia wasn't anywhere near home. She was trapped in a stranger's basement, hundreds of miles away, chained to a concrete floor. And it all started inside a chat room, a place every parent thought was harmless. A few days earlier, everything was normal. It was January 1, 2002, and snow drifted quietly over the city. Christmas decorations still hung on porches. Inside her family's home, Alicia was a typical 7th grader, curious, bright, and hopeful for the new year. Her parents, Mary and Ed Kozakiewicz, were upstairs watching TV. Alicia sat downstairs at the family computer, the big, humming desktop that every household had back then. The blue glow of the monitor lit her face as she typed, smiling at messages from someone she thought was her friend. His name was David. He said he was 14, her friend Christina's older brother. He listened when she talked about school, about friends, about her dreams. He was kind, attentive, always there. And that's exactly how predators begin. For months, David had been messaging her every night. He told her she was special, mature for her age, that he understood her better than anyone else. To a lonely or curious kid, those words feel safe. To him, they were bait. This wasn't an instant kidnapping. It was months of psychological manipulation, grooming disguised as friendship. Every good night, every "you can trust me," was a thread in a net she didn't even realize she was caught in. On January 1st, David said he wanted to meet. He told her he'd driven all the way to Pittsburgh just to see her, just for a quick New Year's hug. Alicia hesitated. She was nervous. But he'd earned her trust. He promised he wouldn't tell anyone. He made it sound exciting, a secret between friends. So that night, while her parents slept, Alicia quietly opened the front door and stepped into the cold. She thought she was meeting a friend. Instead, she met a predator. The next morning, her mother called for her daughter. No answer. The bed, empty. The front door, slightly open. Mary felt a kind of fear only parents know, that deep, cold instinct that something is horribly wrong. They searched the neighborhood, called friends, called hospitals. Nothing. Then, with shaking hands, they called the police. A missing child report went out within hours. The FBI joined by day 2. What they didn't know yet was that Alicia's computer held the key. Investigators scanned her computer and found chat logs, hundreds of messages between Alicia and David. They realized she had been groomed. But tracing an IP address in 2002 wasn't easy. This was the early internet. No geolocation, no instant pings. Every trace was a manual request, every second critical. They followed the faint signal to Virginia, but Virginia was vast. Without a name or address, the trail could go cold any minute. And meanwhile, in a small house in Herndon, Virginia, Alicia was being held captive by a man named Scott Tyree, the real identity behind David. The basement was small, cold, and windowless. A flickering light bulb swayed from the ceiling. A metal chain clinked softly each time Alicia tried to move. For 4 endless days, she lived through something no child should ever experience. But somewhere inside her, even through fear, something fought to survive. She remembered her parents, her home, her life before that door opened. And that determination would soon save her. Back in Pittsburgh, FBI agents were running on little sleep. They coordinated with the Cybercrimes Unit, a new department at the time, to trace every signal. Then a tip came in. A neighbor in Herndon reported seeing a young girl led into a house by a man she didn't recognize. The man matched a vague online profile tied to the same IP address the FBI had traced. Within hours, agents surrounded the house. They knocked. No answer. Seconds later, they forced the door. Inside the basement, they found Alicia. Alive. Terrified. Shackled, but breathing. The agents carried her outside into the freezing air. The neighbor watched from their window as the little girl, wrapped in an FBI jacket, stepped out into the light. Alicia was rescued on January 4, 2002, 4 days after she disappeared. Her captor, Scott Tyree, was arrested on the spot and later sentenced to 19 years in prison. For the Kozakiewicz family, the nightmare was over, but the healing had just begun. What happened to Alicia changed the internet forever. Before 2002, online safety wasn't a phrase parents used. After her case, it became a national conversation. And that's why this story matters, because it's not just about what happened to Alicia, it's about what she turned it into. Her survival became a movement. In later years, Alicia founded the Alicia Project, working with the FBI and schools to educate parents and kids about online grooming. She stood before Congress, telling her story to protect others. She turned pain into prevention. But while Alicia's story helped save lives, her case revealed something darker. That for every child rescued, hundreds more might still be talking to predators right now. And when investigators looked deeper into Scott Tyree's online activity, what they found hinted at something much bigger. A network of predators using the same methods, the same scripts, the same lies. And one disturbing truth, Alicia might not have been the only target. When the FBI stormed the Virginia home and found 13-year-old Alicia Kozakiewicz chained in a basement, the world saw it as a miracle. But for Alicia, it was the moment her life split in two, before the internet and after it. For 4 days, she'd lived in fear, thinking no one would ever find her. For 4 days, her family prayed, begged, and hoped. And when the agents finally carried her out, the story of a missing girl became something much bigger, the beginning of a global fight for online child safety. The rescue was fast and dangerous. When the FBI raided the house in Herndon, they didn't know what they'd find. The basement door was locked. The man inside, Scott Tyree, was larger, stronger, and had already proven unpredictable. But when they kicked in the door, the sight froze even the most seasoned agents. A young girl, trembling, chained to a wall. Her eyes wide, pleading. And beside her, a man who had pretended to love her. Agents moved quickly. One cut the chain, another wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. Alicia didn't speak at first. Her voice had vanished under days of terror. Outside, the night air bit into her skin, but for the first time in days, she was free. Back in Pittsburgh, Alicia's mother, Mary Kozakiewicz, had barely slept since her daughter disappeared. She sat by the phone, waiting for any word, any update. Then, the call came. "We found her. She's alive." Mary's knees gave out. She collapsed, sobbing, tears of relief and disbelief. It felt like a second chance she'd begged heaven for. But that moment of relief carried something else too, guilt. She couldn't stop thinking, how did I miss the signs? That question would haunt and later drive both her and Alicia to make sure no other family lived that same nightmare. When Alicia returned home, she was no longer the same carefree teenager. The rescue ended the physical captivity, but mentally she was still trapped in the echoes of that basement. The media surrounded their house. News vans lined the street. Everyone wanted to talk to the miracle girl. But for Alicia, the attention felt overwhelming. She didn't want to be a headline. She wanted to be herself again, and that would take time. This is where most stories stop. But this is where Alicia's truly began. Because while her recovery was difficult, she decided something remarkable. If her pain could save someone else, then it would be worth sharing. She started speaking publicly, not as a victim, but as a survivor and advocate. Her message was simple, powerful, and heartbreaking. If it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. And she was right. Alicia's case became a textbook example of online grooming, how predators gain trust, isolate, and exploit children. Here's what makes grooming so dangerous. It doesn't start with violence. It starts with friendship. Predators like Tyree don't scare their victims. They comfort them. They compliment, sympathize, and slowly introduce secrecy. Don't tell your parents. This is our little secret. It's us against the world. By the time danger appears, the child's emotional trust is already anchored to their abuser. That's what happened to Alicia, and that's what she made her life's mission to fight. Years later, Alicia stood in front of Congress, nervous but determined. She looked at the rows of officials, the microphones, the cameras, and spoke with the same honesty she wished someone had warned her with. "I'm not here today to tell you a horror story. I'm here to tell you what happens when children are left unprotected in a digital world." Her testimony pushed lawmakers to strengthen cybercrime units and pass tougher online protection laws. Her story inspired the creation of new federal initiatives to monitor chat rooms and social media platforms where predators hide. And from that point on, Alicia became one of the most powerful voices in America's internet safety movement. Parents watching this, Alicia's story is your reminder that the internet isn't the enemy, but it's also not a playground without rules. Here are some simple, proven lessons drawn from her experience that save lives every day. Talk early. Conversations about online safety should start before your child goes online, not after something happens. Know the friends you can't see. Ask who your child chats with, just as you'd ask who they hang out with after school. Make secrets safe, not silent. If anyone online says, "Don't tell your parents," that's your red flag. Keep devices in shared spaces. Predators thrive in privacy. Openness saves lives. These aren't fear tactics. They're survival tools in the digital age. With time, Alicia learned to transform trauma into leadership. She began speaking in schools, warning teens about online traps, teaching them how to recognize manipulation. She met parents, police officers, even former predators who said her story opened their eyes. Her advocacy reached millions. She worked directly with the FBI on campaigns targeting online luring. She became the face of the Alicia Project, a nonprofit dedicated to online safety education. And she wasn't just speaking, she was healing. But even as she helped others, Alicia still faced her own nightmares. The flashbacks. The questions. The why me? She said in interviews that recovery isn't about forgetting, it's about reclaiming. Every speech, every student she helped, was another step toward freedom. She once said, "My kidnapper took 4 days of my life. I won't let him take 1 day more." That strength turned her into more than a survivor. She became a symbol of resilience in a digital era full of hidden dangers. But even as Alicia fought back, investigators realized something terrifying. The man who took her, Scott Tyree, wasn't the only one. When they combed through his computer, they found chat logs, encrypted folders, and links to others just like him, a network of predators exchanging methods, photos, and victim profiles. And that discovery would lead authorities to a chilling question. How many children had already been trapped before anyone noticed? The answer would push the FBI to build one of the most advanced cybercrime systems in history and reveal just how widespread online child exploitation really was. Alicia's story began with a click. But what it exposed was a digital underworld operating beneath every innocent chat room and social network. Her rescue changed laws, reshaped safety education, and gave millions of families the courage to talk openly about online danger. But her case also uncovered a far darker truth, one that's still evolving today. Because while Alicia was saved, the system that found her uncovered something bigger. And what the FBI discovered next would change the way America polices the internet forever. When FBI agents rescued 13-year-old Alicia Kozakiewicz from that basement in Virginia, they thought they'd closed a nightmare. But as they looked through her abductor's computer, they realized they hadn't found the end. They had just opened the door to something much bigger. On Scott Tyree's hard drive were folders of chat logs, encrypted photos, usernames, and connections stretching across multiple states. Each one told the same story, children being groomed by adults pretending to be friends. The basement was only one crime scene. The real one was online. At the time, the FBI's cybercrime division was still young. Most agents were trained for robberies, kidnappings, and fraud, not the invisible crimes happening behind computer screens. But Alicia's case changed that. Her rescue forced law enforcement to see the internet for what it had quietly become. A new hunting ground. For years, predators had been hiding in plain sight, inside the same chat rooms kids used to make friends. They spoke in coded language, shared techniques, and even traded success stories with each other. And now, through Tyree's seized files, the FBI had a roadmap straight into that hidden network. In the Washington, D.C. field office, Investigators sat in front of a glowing screen filled with usernames, IP traces, and file transfers. Each alias could represent one person, or a dozen. Each file could lead to another child at risk. It was overwhelming. But one thing was clear. Alicia's case wasn't isolated. It was the spark that revealed an epidemic. An agent later recalled, "Before Alicia, we didn't fully grasp how organized these predators were. After her rescue, we realized we were at the beginning of an entirely new kind of crime." The FBI quickly assembled Project Innocence Lost, a joint task force of cybercrime experts, child advocacy groups, and local police. Their mission: track online predators before they reach their victims. And within weeks of the Kozakiewicz rescue, that mission paid off, leading to more arrests, more rescues, and a growing realization that the internet had changed childhood forever. Meanwhile, as Alicia recovered at home, she was beginning to understand the scale of what had happened. She wasn't just a survivor, she was evidence of a new, invisible war. When FBI agents later met with her and her parents to explain what they'd found, Alicia said she felt both terrified and grateful. Terrified that so many others were being targeted. Grateful that she could help stop it. "If my story can save even one child," she said, "then it has to be told." That was the moment Alicia began her life's mission, turning her trauma into prevention. Her case inspired nationwide reforms. Congress began pushing for stronger internet safety laws, and funding for cybercrime units skyrocketed. Schools introduced digital safety courses for the first time. Websites began developing monitoring tools to detect suspicious interactions. But despite the progress, predators kept evolving, adapting to each new platform. Chat rooms became instant messengers. Instant messengers became social media. And as technology advanced, so did the danger. Alicia saw this firsthand. She talked to teens at schools who said, "I know what I'm doing online. That could never happen to me." And that's when she realized something chilling. That's exactly what she once thought too. Parents and guardians watching this. Here's what Alicia's story continues to teach us, even decades later. Predators adapt faster than parents. Every new app, every new platform, they're already there before most adults even know it exists. Grooming often looks like friendship. It's not the scary stranger, it's the one who listens, comforts, and slowly replaces trust. Oversharing is a predator's map. Simple posts about locations, schools, or routines can help someone target your child. Monitoring isn't spying, it's protection. Just as you'd know where your child goes in the real world, you must know where they go online. The difference between safety and tragedy often lies in one conversation, the kind that Alicia now spends her life encouraging families to have. By 2007, Alicia had become a full-time advocate. She appeared on television, testified before Congress, and partnered with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Her speeches were raw, emotional, and unforgettable. "When I was rescued," she once told an audience, "I realized the world had changed. We can't pretend it's 1999 anymore. The monsters aren't just in dark alleys, they're online, waiting for your kids to log in." Each time she spoke, more schools added online safety programs. Each time she shared her story, parents began to check in with their kids differently. And each time, Alicia healed a little more. But behind the courage was a young woman still learning to live again. Even years after her rescue, she admitted that some nights, she'd wake up in a panic, afraid she was back in that basement. She struggled with PTSD, trust, and guilt. Yet she refused to let fear define her. Alicia began writing, mentoring, and counseling other survivors. Her work became not just advocacy, but therapy, a way to reclaim every piece of herself that had been stolen. "Survival isn't just escaping," she said. "It's choosing to live again." Meanwhile, law enforcement's digital dragnet uncovered just how vast the online predator world had become. They found forums trading child exploitation materials, guides on grooming techniques, and even mentor groups where older predators coached younger ones. It was organized, calculated, and horrifying. But with every discovery, the FBI also found hope, because each arrest saved another potential victim. Over the next 5 years, Hundreds of children were rescued as part of operations that traced back to Tyree's digital footprint. Alicia's case had unknowingly sparked one of the largest cyber safety crackdowns in U.S. history. FBI agents have since said Alicia's courage motivated them through the darkest parts of their work. They used her story in training sessions, reminding new recruits why they fight these cases, not for headlines but for lives. And when Alicia visited Quantico years later to thank the team that saved her, the room stood in silence. She walked up to the agent who carried her out that night and simply said, "You gave me my life back." He replied, "No, Alicia, you gave it meaning." Every parent, every teen, every teacher who hears Alicia's story carries a piece of that mission now. Her survival wasn't just luck. It was the beginning of awareness, a movement that continues to evolve today. But even as the systems grew stronger, one question kept haunting investigators. What happens when predators learn to hide where no one can see them? In encrypted spaces, private servers, and secret apps designed to erase messages instantly. That question would define the next phase of the digital safety war. Alicia's rescue exposed one monster. Her courage exposed thousands. But the fight was far from over. Because even as new laws were written and arrests were made, the predators were already adapting, moving into darker corners of the internet, beyond the reach of parents, teachers, and even the FBI. And when one new platform emerged, one that let anyone message anyone, anywhere, instantly, investigators realized the rules had changed again. Alicia's mission would have to evolve. And what she would do next would redefine how America protects its children in the digital age. It's been years since that cold January night when FBI agents kicked down a basement door in Virginia and found a terrified girl chained to the floor. That girl was Alicia Kozakiewicz. Today, she walks across stages, not in fear, but in strength. But the same internet that nearly took her life has evolved into something even more dangerous. In the early 2000s, Alicia's case sparked the first wave of awareness about online predators. But technology never stopped moving. Social media exploded. Private messaging became the norm. And new platforms allowed people to hide behind screens with even less accountability. Alicia watched this evolution with a heavy heart. She knew predators hadn't disappeared, they just changed tactics. Back then, it was chat rooms, she explained in an interview. Now it's DMs, gaming chats, and apps designed to delete everything. The danger never left, it just got smarter. The camera pans across a crowded gymnasium. Students whisper as a young woman steps to the podium. She smiles, takes a breath, and begins. "When I was 13, I thought I met a friend online. I was wrong. And I don't want that to happen to you." The room goes silent. Every eye watches as Alicia tells her story, not with fear, but with purpose. She describes how trust can be manipulated, how predators use empathy as a weapon, and how one decision to meet a stranger nearly cost her everything. When she finishes, the applause lasts for minutes. But Alicia doesn't bask in it. She just looks at the crowd and says softly, "If you ever feel unsafe, talk to someone. Please." That single message has reached millions. Through her Alicia project, she travels the world teaching digital safety and lobbying for stronger online protection laws. She's worked with the FBI, schools, and even Congress, pushing to make every parent and child understand that the internet, while powerful, must be respected like a loaded weapon. Her advocacy helped inspire Alicia's Law, a legislative initiative passed in multiple U.S. states to fund Internet Crimes Against Children, ICAC, task forces. The law gives investigators the resources to trace, track, and arrest predators faster, sometimes before they even meet their victims. Each time a child is rescued through these efforts, it's another echo of Alicia's survival. "When I was rescued," Alicia told lawmakers, "it wasn't technology that saved me. It was people who cared enough to act. We need to make sure law enforcement always has the tools to do the same for others." Her voice cracked with emotion, but she didn't waver. Behind her, on a screen, flashed photos of rescued children, living proof of what action can achieve. That day, the committee approved the bill. And Alicia's name became not just a symbol of survival, but of reform. Still, advocacy comes with its own pain. Every time she shares her story, Alicia relives pieces of it. Every new case reminds her of the night she lost her innocence. "I'll never get those years back," she admitted. "But I can make sure someone else keeps theirs." Her honesty is what makes her message so powerful. She never sugarcoats the horror, but she also never lets it define her. To audiences, she isn't just a victim. She's living proof that healing is possible and prevention is real. But as the world celebrates progress, new challenges keep emerging. Encrypted messaging apps, deepfake technology, AI-generated identities that can mimic real people. Even experts struggle to keep up. Alicia often warns that the internet's next predator may not be human at all. It could be an algorithm, a bot, or a fake profile built entirely by AI to lure victims. Her talks now emphasize digital literacy, teaching kids not just to fear strangers, but to question what's real. "Don't just ask who you're talking to," she says. "Ask if they're even real." In one clip, Alicia stands in front of new FBI recruits, showing them the chain that once held her captive. The room is silent. "This chain is heavy," she says, holding it up. "But ignorance is heavier. Every click you investigate, every file you trace, it matters." The recruits nod. They know the weight of what she's saying, because it's not just about catching criminals anymore. It's about prevention, awareness, and saving the next Alicia before she's taken. Today, Alicia Kozakiewicz is more than a survivor. She's a pioneer in the fight for digital safety, proof that trauma can become transformation. Her story is taught in schools, cited in cybercrime courses, and shared by parents across the world as a warning and a hope. She's been honored by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, appeared on Oprah, and worked alongside child safety advocates globally. Yet she remains humble. "The only reason I survived," she once said, "is because someone cared enough to act. So now that's what I do, I act." Her journey reminds us that technology isn't inherently evil. It's a tool, one that reflects who we are. And in the wrong hands, it can destroy lives. But in the right ones, it can save them. Alicia's rescue, her advocacy, and her law have saved countless children. Yet she'll tell you she's not special, just lucky. And determined to make that luck count. "If I could talk to that 13-year-old girl again," she says, "I'd tell her, you're not broken. You're becoming something strong enough to change the world." The internet didn't invent evil, it revealed it. But as long as there are voices like Alicia's, there will be hope. Because sometimes, the loudest warning comes from the quietest survivor. And sometimes, one person's nightmare becomes another person's salvation. If you or someone you know is experiencing online grooming or exploitation, contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, at cybertypeline.org or call 1-800-THELOST. You are not alone. Help is out there. Thank you for watching Real Life Mysteries, True Crime. Remember, awareness is the first step to safety. Subscribe, share, and stay alert, because the next mystery could be closer than you think. Real stories, real lessons, real life.